you. Hello, Waze community. I hope you're all having a very amazing Sunday. We're here with another exciting edition of Waze Community Hours, Office Hours, live from Waze HQ. I'm your host, Brett. I'm here today with beautiful Maya and also with Yaron and Talia from the WME team. And today we are going to talk all about Suggest and Edit. So quickly to introduce our speakers. First, we have Talia Siegelman, who's a product manager on the WME team. We have Yaron Fiedler, who is the group product manager for the WME team. And of course, Maya Pazuki, community manager, who is really in charge of all of our WME stuff from the community side. So enough for me. Let's dive right in. Today, we're going to take you through the first-time editor experience. We're going to show you Suggest and Edit as a feature. We're going to demo for you some of the next product phases and also show you some of the community feedback you shared with us already. And then we'll get to live Q&A. So if you have a question, please drop it in the link we're going to put in chat right now. And as soon as it's up there, great. Let me put this on the screen as well. So if you have any questions, make sure you submit them here to the link. And without further ado, I'd love to kick things over to Yaron.
All right. Hi, everybody. Great to be here today. So before we jump in and talk about the feature itself of Suggest and Edit, let's take a short 15 minutes, 10 minutes to discuss the first-time experience and the research we have around it. In 2023, we conducted we got a lot of research and generated a lot of insights around the first-time editor experience. And we'll see how Suggest and Edit actually fits and answers a lot of the insights that we found through this research. Okay, so let's start with the research overview. So the first question we ask ourselves is what's essential to become a map editor? And we found two conditions that are necessary but not enough. One of them is that the user needs to be an engaged Wazer, somebody that drives with Waze a lot. And the other is to encounter a map issue. Now, these two conditions, as I said, they're necessary but not enough. On top of those, we need to the user itself need to have the motivation to log into WME and to make an edit. And of course, we need to also understand what are the tasks that user is coming to complete. So let's talk about the motivation. Not surprisingly, what we found out is that the primary reason first-time editors log into WME is to fix a problem that they encounter themselves, something that prevents them to complete the task they're coming to Waze to do. It could be things from routing to entry point, something that has to do with their safety, and so on. So really, that's the main motivation. Next slide. So once we understand the motivation, we also need to understand what are the tasks that users are coming to WME to complete. And in our research, we found 5 main tasks. 1, correction of an entry point, if it could be the home entry point or the business entry point. Creation of a new road, adding or removing closures, editing speed limits, and editing street attributes. We also learned about place creation and correcting routing as task users come to complete in WME, but those were out of scope for the research. What we did next is to observe new users attempt to complete these tasks. I'm going to spill the beans here and tell you that users didn't really manage to complete a lot of these tasks. Actually, they only managed to complete one successfully. Do you want to guess in the chat which one it was?
So we have here editing speed limit, creating a new road. Speed limit.
All right, so whoever said speed limit, you're spot on. Indeed, speed limit is the only task that we saw new editors managing to complete successfully. Now, that's not really a great situation for new editors, is it? They're coming to WME with the right intention, and they simply don't manage to complete the task they came for. So the question is why? What is actually blocking them from completing the task they came for in the first place. And what we found out is that we have 4 buckets of barriers, editing barriers for new editors. 1 is WME usability, 2 is getting support, 3 is inability and low confidence to do what they're coming to do, and the 4th is awareness. We'll go through these buckets and we'll see how later on how Suggest and Edit actually answers some of those barriers. So within the WME usability, there are a few issues that came up. There's the login flow, which requires them to remember the username and password. There's initial orientation, which today user just lands in some default place. There's multiple action areas, which makes it difficult to find the buttons and the menus they need to interact with. And there's the fact they don't get clear verification about the actions they perform. Next, getting support. So users here expect to suggest rather to edit. That's actually that came up naturally from users. And they expect this suggestion to be reviewed before actually changing the map. They need a brief tutorial or a walkthrough to better understand the tool and how to use it in order to complete the task they came for. And finally, they expect to learn and get support through the actual app, which of course makes a lot of sense since that's where they actually encountered the problem they came to fix. Next, we have the inability and low confidence to actually complete the task they came for. And here we see things like inability to complete the edit because of their level. Makes a lot of sense again. At the end of the day, all the ones that are coming for the first time are L1's editors, and most of the map is actually not editable for them. They perceived editing as a complex or time-consuming activity. And finally, they are simply afraid of making a mistake. This is very much understandable, by the way, since editing the map later on affects thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even million users. It depends what we are editing. And finally, within the awareness category, we see things like most users aren't aware of the community map contribution and the role the community plays in maintaining the map. In fact, only 26% of users are aware of it. They aren't aware of their ability to contact other editors. And they only learn about WME when they actively looking for it, either through search or if they get some kind of an email and click a link. There's no organic experience that leads them there. So to sum it up, we see friction and issues in every step of the way for new editors, from awareness to making an edit, through login, orientation, and support. It's really not easy to become an editor. I would say that a lot of these problems that we see and barriers are being addressed through various features. But today, we're going to focus on Suggest and Edit and how Suggest and Edit actually solves a lot of these barriers.
Thank you, Yoram. So I'm going to happily present the feature of Suggest and Edit, which was launched in NA about 2 weeks ago. Next, please. Okay, so as Yaron mentioned, most of what I'm going to say now is as Yaron mentioned, because that's like the motivation to what we are doing. So as Yaron mentioned, we have some problems to solve in the WME that we are addressing with this feature. Next. So as we saw, editors can complete what they wanted to do. They want to come and fix something that is preventing them from using the Waze app as they wanted to, and they just technically can because they don't have the permissions to edit the map element. It might be locked to the level or because they didn't drive in this area. Next. Also, that affects the Waze map because we are missing local information that could have been contributed by these users. And once the edit was not completed, we can't get this information. Next. The current experience is very frustrating. You can go fast through this. Everything is locked through a level of permissions, creating a very frustrating experience that just cannot complete the task. And so our vision is that everybody will be able to edit the map. Yes. Next. All users will be able to update any object on the map. And the idea is that restricted users the changes that they will do will be sent to non-restricted editors for review. They will be able to either approve it or reject it. And then just after these edits were approved, they will be published and built in the tiles of the Waze map. So new editors will be able to complete what they came to do to fix a segment or a place or whatever they wanted to do. They will get to the end of their motivation and task. We'll have better engagement, retention rates. People will come because they will be happy, and that will help the growth of the community. Next. And higher level will help new users on board to the tool and to the community organically in the flow of this feature. Thanks. Okay, so as I said before, I'm super happy to show you this is already live. We started with the very limited scope of only enabling editing a specific segment, existing segments, and the attributes of the segment itself. We're not allowing yet all the other features, but this will be later on in the product phases that I will share with you. So,
yeah. I have a good question here real quick from the audience is how long is the points for the edits? How is that going to work? Is everyone going to get points?
Right. So everybody's getting points. You get a point.
You get a point. You get a point.
Everybody's getting points. Both the suggester and the reviewer will get points. Suggestors will get points if their edits were approved for all the edits that were approved. If they were rejected, just a small amount of point, like 1 point for the attempt, as long as it's not spam. The reviewer will also get points for the edits they reviewed and approved. If they rejected the suggestion, it will be also, again, just like any issues that we have in the WME. You did? That's weird. Maybe because I asked to unlock it. Okay, so as you see on my screen now, I'm using a level 1 one cell kind of editor, level 1 in Canada, and you see that the segment says here, instead of being locked, it says any changes will be reviewed before being published. There's some more information on that. We haven't created any entry points for the feature, just enabling the editing for the segment. So anything I'll do here, I can say it's not a minor highway, it's a primary street. I can say it's not Main Street, it's some other street. Whatever I want to do, I can say it's a tunnel. Anything I do, it becomes either part of the transaction stack panel. You can see my all the edits I've done. Sorry, I haven't done the address yet. And if I want to send it to review, I need to give some explanation of what I'm doing. So obviously I'm testing and I'm trying to edit, testing, Waze, Office.
Here's an interesting question.
Yeah.
What will happen if multiple editors edit the same road and wait for the approval? Is it going to accept multiple?
Yeah. So there's no problem to create multiple suggestions on one segment.
No, if like 2 different editors make the same edit.
The same suggestion, right? Yeah. So they can create the same suggestion. It will be on based on first come, first served. The reviewer will go over it and will approve one and reject the other. This we will need to be aware. We might be able to prevent doing the exact same edit, but for now it's technically possible. So I need to give an explanation of what I'm doing, a message for the reviewer, and now I'm sending it to review. And these fixes were sent to review. Now I'm going to log in with my other user. Okay, so this is a level 6 editor. And in the issue tracker, I'm saying I want to look for edit suggestion created in Canada, and I have filters that I can filter and look for edit suggestion by level, their status, the lock level that is required to approve this suggestion. I can look only for things that are reported by me or closed by me. I'm already going to say that this separation of the filters between edit suggestion that came from Google is called as Koifish, also known as Koifish. And the editors will be unified in the next version. But for now, I'm looking for a suggestion that came from editor level 1. And if I'll search for one, here's my change. So you can see there are 2 changes. It's a new suggestion by Italia. And you can see here, I can hover and see the segment it's selected. I can also start as any other issue. And I can also start a chat with this user. And I can say, yo, Talia, it's me. It's me, Talia. And start maybe ask some questions about the suggestion. But if I want to edit and adjust it, I can edit, and I won't do that obviously, but I will reject it. If I reject the suggestion, I need to give a reason. We are going to monitor from our side how many of these suggestions are spam, and we'll block these users. Of course, for now, we're really happy that we don't have actually real spam. And we can also add a private, it's me again. And this message will go privately as part of the email notification, and later on we're going to have also an inbox notification, and then I reject this, and this suggestion was rejected.
So I want to stop you there on the rejection because I've got a couple of questions that touch on this. First one that we had that I think you just answered was, what are we going to do to prevent suggestion spam? And I
Right.
think you just said that we're monitoring the rejections and we'll block anyone who is overly rejected.
Right.
But
I'll
then
say another thing about that.
Yeah.
That we also we have thresholds for not allowing more than 10 suggestions a day for new users. And we're gonna, these are a number that we'll monitor and see if we need to change these. So we are actively looking at what's happening to see if, and again, since the launch, only 2 weeks, we haven't seen anything yet.
Great. And then, so the other ones are about what happens if a reviewer changes or if a reviewer rejects it. Is there negative consequences for the suggester? Will they still get points if the...
Right. So if a suggestion was rejected, the suggester will get only 1 point and not the full editing points for this attempt. If it's marked as spam, we're not giving any points, of course, but we are not downgrading or giving minus points or anything like that. We are assuming good intent. People are trying to edit the map, as long as the reviewer didn't mark it as spam.
Well, we're getting a lot of celebration for that.
Negative points. Okay. I think we can go back to the presentation.
Sure thing. Alrighty.
All right, so this is just initial data from the first 2 weeks in NA. We see out of the suggestions that were created, and most of them are accepted. Resolved. We have about 75% resolved rate. It's in 2 weeks, right? But we'll monitor this over time. And rejected are about 25%. Created means it's still open, so 26% were not resolved yet. Suggestion created by level, as expected, most of the suggestion, about 60%, are created by level 1, but we can see that also higher level are creating edits, suggestion, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. This opens up the full potential for everyone to edit wherever they want to create edits. And the review, obviously, again, from the other side, most of it is level 5 and 6. And the rejection type, as I said, even here, the ones that are marked as spam, it looks like 7%, but these were not really spam. We monitored them. They were marked by the reviewer as spam, but the explanation there was not saying it's spam. It was giving more explanation. So as I said, we're manually monitoring these for the launch period. Next.
Before we move on, I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
So first up is from Necron. What's the threshold for higher level editors? From my understanding, it's no threshold. It's whatever level you're at, if something's locked out for you, then you're going to be able to make a suggestion.
Exactly. And also, if it was referring to the number of suggestions that can be done in a day, we don't have a threshold for higher levels.
And then on the thresholds from Aladdin 9, is it 10 per day just for new accounts?
Right, for L1s.
For all L1s, or does that
For
time
now,
out once they're
for now,
trusted?
for L1. Again, everything here is a base for changes. So this is the base we gave for now. L1s are 10 edits per day.
Cool. So let's move on.
Okay. So what we're working on next is, as I mentioned before, you can go on, is adding more options to suggest on more map attributes. Next. So first, as Yaron mentioned, we know that people want to edit the entrance to their house. So house numbers is one obvious candidate, and then turns, part of segments. You can't do much without turns, but again, editing existing turns, and then later on, also editing new segments. Once we talk about new segments, you need to talk about the connection to a segment, splitting the segments and merging. All this will be part of the suggestion. And next. Again, as Yaron mentioned, we know that we have a very low awareness in there. People don't know that they can edit, they can do in the community, and we want to start exposing them to editing in the app itself. So I have a couple of words. So the first flow we are going to tackle is, and what you see here is totally work in progress, is editing an entrance to a venue. That's the first flow that we prioritize and working on now and defining and researching. And we need to understand that many of you, when we talk about mobile editing for you guys who are editors already, you look and try and think about the real-time situation of now changing something while you're on the go. But this is not only for this use case, it's also for people who want to just contribute a specific small atomic suggestion and start the journey of contribution in Waze, maybe growing up to be a full editor, but maybe also just sticking into the mobile experience.
Thank you, Talia. So hey, everyone, I'm really pumped to be here. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Maya. I'm managing communities in Latin America, and I'm also managing the WME beta community. I'm super excited to dive into all the feedback we received during the launch and also during beta testing. And before we get the ball rolling, I want to give a huge shout out to our WME beta pirates and also to WME beta pirates that tested as L1. You really earned this badge. We know it takes a lot of time and effort to switch between accounts, to have a different editing mindset and share feedback. So we really appreciate that you took the time to test as level 1 and you earned this badge. Okay, so a lot of your awesome feedback is going to directly shape the product, and I want to show you what's coming. The first thing is the suggester in the edit history. You will be able to see both the username of the suggester and the moderator. This is something that you've been asking for, and it's already in the pipeline. Partial acceptance. This is the feedback that came up the most during WME beta testing. So I'm really excited to share that this is also in the pipeline. It will allow for speedier reviews and also to make reviews more efficient, as you'll be able to reject and accept single line items. You'll also be able to remove your own suggestion. If you're a suggester, you change your mind, you made a mistake, you'll be able to remove your own suggestion. And you'll also be able to switch between modes and to ask for a sort of peer review. So you'll be able to do an edit and save it. Let's say you have permissions to save it, you can save it, or you can also send it for review if you're not 100% sure of what you're doing. I also want to share other things that are in the pipeline. You will be able to see the approved suggestions in the issue tracker. This came up a lot during production in NA, that it wasn't clear what happened when the suggestions were approved. You wouldn't see them in the issue tracker anymore, and that's something we are going to change. As Talia mentioned, you will be able to filter both suggestions from Koifish and also from the issue track, from suggestions. And we're also going to fix the UI issue in the message left by the suggester. Right now, the word's cut in the middle, so we're fixing that. And I want to keep it real also on the things that did not get in the pipeline. We have feedback that hasn't been prioritized, but we're working on it. Not everything is perfect. And we are aware of issues like the 1.5 kilometer limitation of the same suggestion. You cannot suggest for segments that are farther with that 1.5 kilometers. And we know this is an issue in Canada, mostly in less urban areas. So this is something we're still looking into. Also, blocking a suggestion of the same suggestion on the segment. This is a question that came up, and right now you can make the same suggestion on the segment. It will be first come, first serve, as Talia mentioned. And also you shared some feedback on rethinking some of the copy, how we word rejection, and this. Also the rejection reason and comment. And the editor that rejected, you said that it should be visible for everyone, the same as in URs. This is still not in the pipeline. Okay, so that's all for your feedback. And right now, I think we can open it up for live questions.
Awesome. So let me switch this over to our Q&A. So Donnie, what do you got for us? So from Pasha AKD in New Jersey, we have, I messaged a user why I denied their edit and then saw there was a field to explain why it was denied too. Where does that reason get sent to? I saw it was not as a chat between the users.
Right, so this message goes as part of the email that goes to the users, where I think there was one side that we are attacking in different messaging platforms. So there is the chat, there is the email, there is the inbox, but we're trying not to lose users. I think we might be having some iteration there and refining it. But now this message goes as part of the private message, both in the inbox and in the email. And the chat is a chat that stays, and it's not connected to a specific issue. It's just a general chat between two people.
So before we take another one, I've seen this pop up at least 4 times since we've been talking about mobile editing. So maybe, Talia, can you talk if there's any plans or anything about making these sorts of suggestions via the Waze app or mobile?
So as I showed before, so we are talking about creating suggestions via mobile, but we are starting with the first flow of editing a venue's entrance location. We saw this as a main use case for users who have an intent to come and edit to the map. And our plan is to add more and more use cases. So it will be later on suggested on segments, suggested on turns. Closure is also on the list, although it's a little bit different, but all of these are in the list. Working on right now is the entrance location for a venue.
I want to add one more thing about this question. Throughout the suggested edit experience and other first-time editor experience, we are now making it pretty important to show new users that there is a community out there that can actually communicate with and get support. We saw in the research that this is something they are not aware of. And this field right there that you can actually explain why it was denied, give some feedback, is one of the ways to show users that they can get support and ask questions.
All right, next up from Jolene is, as a first editor, do you have video tutorial? Well, yes, actually, we do have brand new video tutorials for first-time users to WME. And as a project that I'm working on this year, we're going to start looking into advanced tutorials as well. So you can also check out our YouTube channel here on Waze Communities events. You'll find episodes of this show, Waze Communities Office Hours, on a whole host of features that have come out since, what, 2021, I think? And yeah, we're building a huge video library, and we're going to keep on adding to it. So next up from Jason, are there plans to make Waze Chat easier to find or discover in the app? I use it to get more information for PURs or edit suggestions, but some users don't appear to understand where the chat is.
All right, so around chat plans, first of all, the chat today already also shows inside the Waze app. So users who get a response in the Waze, if they didn't close the push notification, these will be sent to the Waze app, and they can see it. We see a much higher response rate from what we saw before for the UR emails or other messaging platforms we had. So this is a very, very good improvement that we already have. We're also going to have more. We have some items on our roadmap, like creating the users not invisible, showing them not as invisible when they first log in. Maybe adding discoverability features on the chat. The response also, we have also some plans on inside the Waze app to change the way it will look. That users, if they don't have the push notification set as on, they will be able to also see that they have a new message and get to the right location. That's a Waze app feature request that we have. I hope that answered that.
Yeah. Moving right along, another from Jason. In the demo, you almost forgot to apply the address. Power users forget to hit apply often enough. New users are likely not going to realize that hitting apply is necessary. I'd encourage developers to review the workflow, which requires hitting apply for some attributes, but not others. Okay, thanks for that comment, Jason.
That's a good feedback.
Next up, from Who, speed limit warning is 35 kilometers an hour. It's too big in Asia, and this feature can't work. 20 kilometers an hour for its speed limit warning can work in Asia. It relates to how we fix segment speed in the limit in the WME, and I hope we can change it soon. So this isn't really related to suggest and edit. Sorry, Who, we're going to move on from that one. And Anonymous. It would be nice if the user can ask response directly to their email from Waze, like a support ticket style.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So I'll take that as something we're not going to do.
No plan for right now. Yeah.
Got it. So from Waze Montreal, the interface currently allows you to look at suggestions either from Google or from editors. Can we please have a choice to display suggestions from both at the same time? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, as Maya said before, and I also mentioned, this is something we're working on right now, and it will be part of the next versions.
And from Mark, I'm looking at the feature in Live WME in the USA. The date format is European, and the speeds are showing up as kilometers per hour. Can those be localized?
I'm not sure about which feature he's talking to, about over speed limits?
Possibly, Mark, if you send us a screenshot, we'll get back to you after the show. So let's move on. From Mikael, will every editor, level 1 to level 6, have the option to check and edit? If, for an example, I want to have someone check my edits.
Right. So this is part of the peer review. You will be able to move to a mode saying this is suggestion mode. I'm not sure about this edit. I want to send it to review. From the reviewer side, anything that's locked to a level under your level will be able to be reviewed by you. So both sides are optional.
Great. So from Falcon Tech, at the moment, the editing history is saved for the approver. Will there also be mentioned that this is an addition coming from the suggestion and whose?
Yes, this is actually in development as we speak.
So from Bryce, not just suggest an editor, but there seems to be quite a few USA World users getting through. And wasn't the WME supposed to be configured a while ago to require an actual username?
So it's not the actual username that we require. We require a real email address. So if a user logged into Waze and created what we call the temp user or guest user, he logged in, he got this username USA_world_, and then he logs into the WME through the QR code. He will go through a flow that will require him to also add an email, and then he becomes a registered user, but he didn't change his username. If he's in the WME, it means that he has an email, a verified email. And it's a real user. He's not a guest user, but he didn't change his username.
Thanks, Talia. So we have some follow-up from Mark in chat. So he said it was suggested and the speed limit was suddenly changed to kilometers per hour rather than mph. And then John answered back that he thinks that's because the suggester is in metric mode without realizing it. Could that be a possibility?
It could be. It might be a bug. We'll
Yeah.
look into it.
It's a great opportunity, by the way, to provide that feedback back to the suggester.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great. Let's see what we got next. From Bartek, does suggested edit support editing lane guidance and/or far lanes? And if not, where is that functionality on the roadmap?
Far down the road.
Far lane.
Far lane down the road. It's a far lane. Yeah, it's not on. Again, Yaron showed the main use cases we're seeing users coming to address in WME. That's not in the top list. So it's there, but it's very low on our list for now.
Next up, we have from Derek, if a new editor has a few edits from 2 years ago and then comes back into WME and creates roads, will they not be limited to suggesting edits? I found one that created a whole subdivision without connecting to PS.
I'm not sure what PS means, but
Primary streets, probably.
It's from 2 years and then come back.
So basically, is there going to be like a timeout for a user if they have an inactive account? Are they going to be like locked on the security measures, or will
we have many restrictions we have for users who didn't log in mostly didn't drive in Waze. I'm not sure about the specific use cases, but probably if he's still level 1, he'll have to suggest edits. It's based on the level, the suggested permissions.
Mm-hmm. So all level 1 editors, no matter what, are going to be capped at 10 suggestions per day. Another from who, how to manage violations that threaten map completeness. If open for the all editor can edit, like level 1 to 3, it's an automatic up level. So I'm guessing this probably is about, because this question is a little confusing, but from what I'm guessing, is how are they going to be able to catch spammers or people who were just trying to do like fake suggestions to level up?
If I understand here, the concern is about user being promoted because they gave edits and it's automatic. Suggestion will have to be reviewed, so there's nothing that can threaten the map security, and the automatic promotion will be as it used to be until now. So I'm not sure I see a specific concern.
I also think too that if like they're making a bunch of fake edits and you're rejecting all of them, then they're going to get caught by our filter as a spammer and then get rejected.
Right.
Also, community coordinators can use the CIR process to request blocking an editor that they suspect is sending spam.
Mm-hmm. So also just on that one, if before we just move on, can you go back to that real quick, Danny? Because John wrote here, if I'm understanding your question, a new user is not restricted to only suggesting edits, and they can still add and edit items at L1 up to what their allowed quantity is.
Yes.
Great. Okay, now we can move on. I think it was from ABC, the next one, right?
Mhm.
Great. ABC 1357. When you use mobile to edit a venue location, will you update the location on the app automatically? The problem is that the app holds on to the old location in previous drives, and users have to delete these locations manually.
Seems like a routing bug. I'll definitely take this feedback and check it.
Great. Moving right along. Anonymous writes, will the area managers layer ever get some love? Originally, it was to help new editors quickly find their most appropriate liaison, but it's been more or less useless, at least in dense areas, for years.
So we don't have any specific plans on the area manager layer. We do think that we have combining the chat features with the area manager is something that we do think to maybe promote that if you log in, you see the area managers in your areas are here and you can chat with them, things like that for first-time users. It's not in the very near future, but it is on our roadmap.
Excellent. So next up from Russell, just a comment. Suggest and edit will definitely be very beneficial for new editors. The introduction to the feature made me think about when I was new to Waze editing in July 2023. The state managers and several others made me feel like I belonged and been an editor since. Now sporting level 3 here. Awesome. That's great to hear, Russell. Anonymous question, will it be visible which language has the editor when he suggests an edit? Since our reject message will be part of the email, how can I be sure that he'll understand that when I answer it in another language?
So the description of the suggestion is a mandatory field. Users have to fill in the description. So that's the language, I guess, they want to communicate in.
Got it. So I guess they'll have to rely on their own Google Translate to make this connection.
Or answer in the same language.
Yeah. All right. Anonymous wrote, for approving edits, it should be approved by Wazers driving the area.
Yeah. The approving edits is the permission. You have to have permissions to edit these edits. If you don't have permissions, you can't approve these edits.
Let's take one from the chat real quick from Nate. Question about deleting previous drives isn't a bug per se. The location is cached usually locally once the user does the search.
Yeah, the search and the history and the favorites, the location is cached. I know. We need to think about that. It's general. It also happens if you're editing now, not as a suggestion. So something we need to take into.
Noted. Next up from Alex. What happens to users who get spam feedback or a high number of rejections? So I think we talked about that a few times. They're going to get the block chop. Alrighty, next up, anonymous question. When suggesting an edit that isn't supported, can we get a more descriptive reason for why it isn't supported? This is especially important for editors that have lane guidance permissions that try to edit geometry and can't unless there are more than 2 geo handles and change it between them.
Not sure I understand fully the question.
I think it's more about the description that the approver is going to, the rejection reason. So it's more on you all to make sure that when you're rejecting someone's suggestion, that you give them a good description for why you're rejecting them.
I actually think they mean the warning that we give for the elements that are not yet supported.
Maybe. Yeah.
We say something that this element isn't supported, and we don't give a reason.
But someone says here it's not a suggestion question.
Correct.
That's correct.
See, this is why we have Maya. Okay. So did you have an answer on that?
I think the main reason is because we haven't had the chance to work on it, and we're working on it, and we expect to be able to release this entity to be suggested. I'm not sure if we can add something that would be more explanatory.
So I guess maybe have a wait and see bubble under it.
Yes, but we'll let you know, especially about WME Beta Pirates. You'll know what's in the pipeline, and you'll know what's coming up next in Suggest and Edit.
Another reason for all of you out there to become a beta pirate. Next up from Bryce, red roads, incomplete road details are common from new editors and can be disabled when incomplete and immediate tooltip provided. So this isn't really a suggest and edit question. This is more of a inexperienced editor flow. Can we stop editors from saving if they have the red lines in the segment?
Yeah, well, we can do everything, but we don't limit most of it. We don't prevent these. We can take it and discuss about it a bit more. I think sometimes editors create these edits and maybe want to complete it later. They want after someone will downgrade a segment they want to connect it to or something like that. But yeah, I agree.
This is like a good use case for approve and adjust. Provide feedback, approve the road, adjust what's missing, and provide that feedback to the suggester.
Yeah, but this happens when it's not a suggestion. It's
oh yeah, I understand that.
So we have just one from the chat that we already covered, but since they came late, will enabling turns be part of the suggest and edit feature?
Will be.
The answer is yes. Next up from Jean-Francois, can you please add a key shortcut to toggle easily and quickly the suggestion layer, both from Google and suggest and edit? Like, for example, Shift-G toggle off on the GPS points layer.
Yeah, we can edit as a feature request and we can address that.
Great. So please add that to the suggestion box and we'll deliberate. Anonymous question, do you have any plan to add login with phone in addition to Google account and email? So I think that's about the login page and the QR code maybe?
The QR code is live in production. People can log in with their phone. Once they scan the QR code, it opens the Waze app and they're logged in. And we do have more ideas and wish lists for the login page. There's much more there to do. It's not a common case of login because login to WME does not enable sign-in, and that's a very specific use case. But the QR code already created some improvement. That's why again you see these users who are look like temp users but are real users.
So next up from Andre, geometry change within a segment was allowed on an earlier version of this feature, but now is not allowed. Is this planned? We
haven't changed the limitation. You were able to do it, and you're supposed to still be able to do it. So if there is
maybe I'll just add that geometry changes are allowed, but you're not allowed to move the A and B nodes, so that might be confusing.
Maybe.
From Adam, in the past year, us local champs had to premature level up new editors to level 2 to be able to edit. This won't be necessary anymore, right?
Right.
And it also wasn't necessary before this. Since the beginning of last year, we had the map protection implemented that was limiting what new users could do to protect our map. And by the way, you don't need to level them up to level 2. You can grant someone an area and they can stay at level 1, and then that will make them a trusted user. Anonymous question. Similar to how it might be changed so users are visible on the map by default, could the default units be set based on the country the user is editing in? This would prevent accidentally being set to kilometers when you want miles per hour.
As far as I remember, we have it on the feature request, right?
I think we do, but yeah. I'll need to check it.
Right.
All right, we're going to check into this. And from Ulrich, can an editor make a suggestion anywhere in the world or only in their editing area?
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
It's now the feature is now open only in the NA environment. So for now, only NA, but once it's open, it's everywhere.
And then I want to take one from chat real quick just to really clarify this because it keeps coming back up. Is the limit for 10 edits or 10 suggestions that can encompass multiple edits per suggestion?
So it's 10 suggestions, and each suggestion has 10 edits limitation in it. So
so you can really do 100 things.
100 edits, yeah.
Amazing. So anonymous question, when a suggestion doesn't have enough info or support, would it be a comment or conversation before approval? I think that's up to you.
Yeah.
Is there any plan to scope this feature for other experienced countries' editors, do suggestions in other countries? So as we just said, it's open globally, so you will be able to make a suggestion anywhere on Earth.
Once it's open.
Once it's open, outside of NA.
Yeah.
For Bryce, suggest, edit, reject, give ability to give comments right there. Can approval get the same, not just through a DM or chat?
Yeah, so we had this discussion if to have this flow also for approval. We were assuming that approval, we didn't want to create the friction and add another screen making users to enter the reason. But we are thinking of ways to incorporate the reason in a different way that is not mandatory.
Next up from Armand. Google Maps or Pedal Maps allows you to edit online, e.g. mapping new road via mobile. When will Waze have this feature? This is, I think, like the most common question that we get at meetups, on office hours. So now that we have like the two heaviest hitters of the WME team with us live on air in the hot seat, Yaron, let's get serious. When is mobile editing? Are we going to get it sometime in the future?
We are looking, as Talia showed, we are looking at mobile editing. We have concrete plans to bring that to users in this year. We are starting with the use cases that we know that are most common for first-time editors and new editors and users. The reason they come and they try to edit, which is mostly around places, entry points, if it's their business and their house. We'll release that. We'll see how it works. We'll see what the feedback we get. And we are planning to expand it to other features as well. I can't comment on this specific capability where that would be available, but the plan is not to stop at editing an entry point. We definitely want to expand mobile editing to new use cases. For example, I'm not saying it's going to be the next one, but we heard a lot about closures. So that's a candidate. So yes, we are going to expand mobile editing further to new features. We're not going to stop at editing an entry point to a place.
Exciting. I will say though, before we move on, that for someone like me who's got like a little sausage fingers thing going on, it makes me kind of nervous to edit segments on a phone screen because I know I'm gonna like smudge that up, but neither here nor there.
It's a good comment. We need to address specific use cases that are relevant for mobile. It's not going to be full mobile editing. It's not going to be WME on the mobile app. It's going to be Tomek use cases that you can do and that are relevant for the app and are good user experience to do on the app.
Well, that's reassuring. Thank you, Talia. Next up from Titanium, are you thinking of modifying the allocation of editing points concerning the numbers, which today are only counted as 1 point, regardless of the number of numbers entered on the same street?
House number editing.
Yeah.
I love this question.
Yes.
Talia, what are we going to do?
So it's on our list,
It's on the list.
on the requests list, but I don't have any timeline for that.
Alrighty. From Robin DLC, can I suggest an edit even if I have rights to edit? Maybe I'm driving in a foreign country and I want to suggest instead of editing it myself. Yes, absolutely. This is what we showed before with the request review, that anyone, even if you're able to make the edit yourself, can still request a reviewer if you're unsure about what you're doing.
Not yet, will be. It's a part of the feedback we have, and we'll add that. It's not yet live.
And another from Bryce. Is there going to be something where a senior editor can edit as level or flag an edit for an edit suggestion follow-up? Yeah, same question. Anonymous. Any plans for releasing the pedestrian crossing function in WME?
This is permanent hazards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We are working on adding this notion of permanent hazards to the map. Its pedestrian crossing is not currently one of the hazards that we're thinking of adding this year, but it's a good suggestion. We should add it to the suggestion box and review it holistically to see which ones makes the most sense.
And I just want to say that in chat, Bill is backing me up that big fingers are already impacting closing roads in the app as markers are too small and close together. So just something to consider for those of us with
big fingers.
Big
All right.
fingers. Next up, that's it. We are out of questions. I'm going to give it like 1 or 2 seconds in chat to see if anything else comes in, or should we take a look up and scroll and see if there's anything we missed, Maya? Wow, you guys, we're like 10 minutes early. This never happens. Usually we have way too many questions to get through in the hour. Anything else come in on the link? No?
Oh, wait.
Maybe?
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, I think John sums it up. This is an amazing feature.
Yes.
And then, oh, here we go. Got some coming in. So, from Aladdin. So the ETN1 and L1 can change a place name.
So this technically can already be done in WME. And place update request is supported. But we are going to revamp it, but that's lower down the list.
Here's a good question. Why didn't we set up editors as visible in WME by default?
No, so we are going to change it. We're checking that it's okay legally to set it up as a default.
And can we suggest an edit for permanent hazards?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yes.
Not yet.
And since this doesn't look like we have many more left,
But we have many nice
we
comments.
do, but there is one from Necron. Meaning of life?
42.
42. Nice. And I think that, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I think this is probably one of the biggest new features since I started it in 2017. Absolutely. This is going to change everything. And exactly what Stephen said, the key thing is that it's giving the suggestors the points. So this is going to be an amazing way for us to make the map open to all, to not have that big brick wall that you hit as a L1 when you sign in for the first time. And we're very excited to share this with you because, again, this is one of those features that is completely community inspired, and we couldn't have done this without you.
Exactly. We trust you, the moderators, to help new editors in their path to become more experienced editors. So moderators also get points. Suggestors and moderators.
And just for those who joined a little bit late, when is it going to be open in Row?
So we actually didn't say about the timeline. We expect in a couple of weeks that we'll be able to see that we are fine. We will be able to measure the impact we have in NA and then to be able to open Chrome.
Oh, you got some love from your community.
One of the things that I'm mostly excited about this feature is also how it facilitates the communication, collaboration between senior editors and new editors.
And then there's another one here from Bryce. Any turn restrictions and closure on suggest and edit roadmap as well?
Yeah. Yes.
Great. And also,
Love you too, Maya.
We don't get that enough. It's my-
We say no all the time, and they say yes all the
That's
time.
very nice.
oh, here you go. We love you all. And we love you too. All right. And here's an interesting one. Can you direct suggestions to specific editors you know you want to review?
No, that's no problem.
So it's just in the queue. Whoever
Right.
gets to it gets to it.
Also, it's not planned.
That's not planned. Okay. Well, I think we can wrap it up, a couple minutes early then. We'll still be happy to take any questions from you all in the forum. Maya is there every single day. So you know where to find her. And I just want to thank you, Talia, on your own again for joining us. This was
Thank you
super
for having
informative. I think the community really is excited about this, as you can see. And we will be back next month with some more new features to show you in WME. So thank you, everyone. and have an awesome Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.